And as fast as I fall asleep, I wake back up again. And it was like sitting up out of my body. Everything was really vivid. Everything was really clear. I'm not sure how to explain the light. I always explain it as an all spectrum light. If you've ever seen that purple, white hue kind of a color, and you could see that light was added. It was, if you look around you right now, you see the regular, you see everything, you see all the lights, but add that randomly as a color that you would randomly see. And it was beautiful. And it was more, everything was more bright. Everything was more vivid. The colors had more color to them. Like they were extreme, vivid. That's all I can really say. I don't really have a good vocabulary for it. I apologize. So I'm looking around my room and I have the thought, I want to go see what mom's cooking because I feel great now. As soon as I have that thought, I zoop or I just fly downstairs really, really fast. I'm in the kitchen. I see my mom cooking. I see this like orange kind of hue or like halo or like it's a orange dim light around her body. And I don't know what's going on there, but I don't think anything of it. It's pretty normal to me. Excuse me. Water. Who knew it makes you burp? Excuse me though. And so I see the orange, the light around her body. And I can sense or I can hear or I know her intentions or her thoughts. And her thoughts are make food, go watch TV, make food, go watch TV. I go, that's pretty boring. So I go back up to my room. And as soon as I think that's boring, I want to go to my room, I basically zip right back up very quickly. I move very quickly up to my room. And I'm not sure that I even used the stairs. I went through the wall. I went through anything that was in my way, just a straight shot to my bedroom. And once I'm in my room, I don't have the desire to play with my toys because I see the light shining off of them on the floor. And I noticed that the moon is full. And I noticed that the moon has this, it's even brighter than, it's the most bright I've ever seen. It too has like a halo around it of light as well, like an aura of light, you could say. And that color is, I would say that magenta, like a light magenta kind of color around it, added with white and blue mixed in. I thought that was amazing. Again, I thought it was just a really beautiful night. I see that light bouncing off of the snow. I go outside, I think I want to go look at the snow and see it up close. So as soon as I have that thought, again, I fly through the window and I'm right in front of the snow and I'm like this close to the snow. And it's beautiful. I see the light and the particles that I see the particles and the particles that make up the light. And I see tiny dots of light, all different kinds that make up the snow and to make up that color, all separate but dancing together. I see the moon again, and it was a very normal thought for me to think, I wonder what it's like to live on the moon. I've had that thought many other times in my childhood. And as soon as I think, I wonder what it's like to live on that moon, I get sucked, basically, or pulled. It's more of a pulling sensation through this wormhole or this, as my daughter described it in her own experience when she was 3, a circle tunnel. And I get pulled through this circle tunnel, as my daughter describes hers. And it's gray and it's white and it's, I'd say maybe like a dark blue, but it's not too much color to it. And it takes longer than when I decided, hey, I want to go from the kitchen to my bedroom. It's a longer it takes longer, but it doesn't take forever. It doesn't feel like I'm in there for a year. Like if I had to compare it to human perception of time, maybe like 20 minutes at most, but it didn't feel like that. In spirit, it felt like a minute or two. And it seemed like a masculine, like a lower voice is what I could hear in my head, basically. Obviously, we don't use our mouths to talk as a spirit or as energy. It's all intention. It's all. So it asked me, what did you think of your life? I didn't. At no time was death ever talked about. At no time did they ever say, hey, you died. This is the afterlife. At no time was that ever mentioned. They simply said, what did you think of your life? And to that I said, it sucked. I don't want to do that. That was not fun. And I went off, I rattled on about all the problems that I had in my life to them. And he said that, well, what did you learn about all those things? And I said, oh, I suppose I learned how to be selfless and care about others. I suppose I, learned this and that, all these lessons. So everything in our life is to teach us a lesson and to help us spiritually and physically evolve as a species, as a spirit. There are different levels of consciousness. And he asked if I want to go back or if I want to go on to the next thing. And I go, I don't really want to go back. I didn't know going back was an option, going back to my body or going back to that life. I didn't even know I really had left it. And I didn't really want to go back. But because I wanted to see what was next. I was curious. And he made it known that, well, I have a lot of ties to this life, so I can't really go on to the next thing exactly. And a lot of my ties were, I was worried about the animals. I was worried about my mom. I would have the option to view lives where a life would have been way better, but that wouldn't help in any way. I would learn really nothing. And it was decided that I was shown 2 timelines. And the first timeline was, and these were only shown to me to help me realize if I wanted to go back or not. So the first timeline was shown me in a cave, a very spiritual life. We lived in little caves, I'm not sure where, but I was watching the sunset and I was really sad and I was really old and I would never have a family and I would never have kids and that really saddened me. And I was like, it's too late for me. And I'm like, I'm glad to be of service to others, but I really want a family and I know that I will not have that. And then I came back and he said, what did you learn? And I said, okay, well, I learned all those things that I do want a family. I experienced what it was like to be an adult without a family. And it felt like a loss. Then the next timeline that he showed me was a timeline that I was in much longer. I got to experience being born. Excuse me. Then I got to meet a spirit that was in this life my mother, but in that life she was a man, I guess. She was my friend. And we grew up together in the same town. We ended up getting married. We ended up having a family, but all of our children died young. And it was a really tough marriage. It was a very sad life together. But I loved her very much and I wanted to care for her. And she felt really sad and really bad, or he felt terrible. They showed me another timeline where I was with my mom. as my husband. I had kids, they died young. And then I was pulled out. I was pulled out of that life or that timeline. And they asked me, what did you learn? I had said, well, I learned that, I got to experience kids and it was a beautiful experience, but forces, had outside of my control killed my kids. And I really want to have a family. I still didn't get to have that experience, even though we had planned in that previous lifetime or that timeline to have kids. What? So it was, I had decided certainly I need to go back and have a family. Be careful of what you make your emotional ties to, your energetic bonds. You can be obsessed with whatever you want to be obsessed with, but understand that your spiritual evolution and your even physical evolution to some degree needs to be remembered so that when you do pass over, that you aren't stuck in lower dimensions. You're not stuck being a wandering lost spirit. You're not lost. You understand that there's something else to seek. That's when you will be brought to the light and you can go on to that next thing. Because I'm so afraid of people and their spirits not understanding and being stuck. Like my friend was almost stuck. Luckily, she had me who saw her and she freaked me out and I could help her. And then she left me alone and I didn't see her again. Thank goodness.